But we got Tony Dolan here.
There you go. Well done.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. How's it with you?
Not bad at all. You keeping busy?
Oh, yeah. Always busy. Always busy. Ramping up in a minute. I got to, I'm still working on the Queen musical. And then, so today was a long day. I was there from about 5 a.m. Until 9, so Sunday's a bit of a long day. How's the weather in Nova Scotia?
Weather is a little windy and cold, and it's not bad. How is it in your place?
Well, it's not too bad. It's been we've had a winter for about just like you guys. We've had winter for about 16 months. We had about 3 days of sunshine, so it felt like summer. But then it's the UK, so 3 days of sunshine sort of is our summer anyway. So I think we're sort of done with summer now.
So you basically do a lot of acting also.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that. I think the thing is, Jay, that I sort of, because I've always done theatre as far as, like, on the technical side, when I was always doing my music. It was like I'd either be doing my music or I'd be working in theatre on the technical side. And then I just sort of stumbled into the acting, doing a favour for a director, and then it sort of built itself from there. So, because I don't get too much free time, because I'm always busy doing something, I guess I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I can't really sit on my arse too much. So I'm always doing something. So, it's not the music, it's acting. If it's not the acting, it's theatre. So I just take, I just take whatever comes and squeeze some shit out of it and have some fun with it and really enjoy it. And I think that's the sort of key to life, isn't it? It's just, you don't know what's around the corner, but whatever comes around, just grab it, shake the shit out of it, have some fun with it, and then dump it and do the next thing.
And you even acted in Judge Dredd with Stallone.
With Stallone, yeah, and well, it was actually, what was cool about that was it was Rob Schneider. I think that was one of his first movies after Saturday Night Live, before all the Juice Bigelow stuff and all that. And he was like the sidekick in it. But he was quite a nice guy, very nervous, and he seemed to be in the movie and stuff. But it was quite awesome meeting Sylvester Stallone, and I got the chance to talk a little bit about some motorbikes and Roberto Duran, who trained him for Rocky 2, so that was all cool. But one of the coolest things was that I didn't really get a personal meet and greet with Armando Sante, but just seeing him was like freaking awesome. Yeah, because I always thought he was such a powerful character and very intense actor, I mean, people said that about Russell Crowe so I was a bit nervous about meeting him because the first shot of the whole movie was done with one of my fellow actors, but he was just by himself. And then the very next shot that was shot on the whole movie was me and Russell Crowe in the bottom of the ship, just me and Russell Crowe. And you can imagine I sort of flew out to Los Angeles and spent 2 weeks in boot camp doing, training, fight training and sword training and cannon training and sailing training and just fucking everything. I get onto the set, so it's a big Hollywood set, and I have to come through. There's like 5 million people everywhere, and some guy grabs me and says, Peter Weir and Russell would like to have a chat with you. So I have to walk all the way across this closed set to the middle of this area where there's just the two of them standing with like 5 million people around the outside. And there's me, Russell Crowe, and Peter Weir, the director who did like Gallipoli, fucking hell, and Picnic at Hanging Rock and The Truman Show. And so the three of us are standing there while they have a conversation. We were all supposed to be having a conversation, but in truth, I was just watching those two have a conversation. Every now and then they turn around and go, "What do you think, Tony?" I go, "Yeah, that sounds great. Yep, that sounds great." And I guess in a way, that was probably all I actually said. That was my contribution to our three-way conversation was, "Yep, that sounds great." Because I figured, well, hang on, you're Russell Crowe and you're Peter Weir. What the fuck do I know? So, but it was bizarre to say the least. One minute you're sort of thrashing around the world, the next minute you're standing in the middle of Hollywood with one of the biggest paid stars and one of the best directors in Hollywood, just agreeing with whatever they said. So it's a bit weird.
You're in big movies and you're in a huge band, Venom.
Yeah.
How did you join Venom in the first place?
Well, what was really weird about that as well, James, was we were. When Venom were starting out, they were associated with Neat Records.
Right.
Neat Records were based in a place called Wallsend, and there was loads of bands from there, Us, Raven, Tigers of Pang Tang, you know. It was all around, punk was sort of just dying out, and the new wave of British heavy metal was just beginning, although nobody knew what it was called at the time. You know, Motorhead, Saxon, Iron Maiden had just come out. It was like, fuck, shit, something's really going on cool here. And what happened, I guess by default, was that in Wallsend, of all places, there was a recording studio, Impulse Recording, and the guy who ran that studio created his own record label, Neat Records, and so all of the bands that were sort of associated with Neat Records in the early days, we all sort of lived within an hour from the studio. So, you know, because everybody wanted to be in a band, if you were going to record demos or anything like that, you'd go to Neat Records or Impulse Studios to record. Of course, and the guy who ran the label just cherry-picked bands out of there, the best bands he just picked for himself and then stuck on the label and put them out. And everybody was a bit naive, so, you know, he'd offer you a shit deal, but you'd get an album, and so you'd just go, yeah, fantastic. So you never got any money, but you got to get your album out. And when you're a young musician and you just want your shit on a record in your collection, these days it's a CD or something, but you just want your own shit. You know, if you look at the MySpace or any of those sort of things, you see tons and tons of bands with their pages. They got fantastic artwork. They got really well produced demos. You know, they're doing it for themselves. But in those days, you had to rely on record companies. You know, the bigger record companies didn't want to know. They had their own remits. But the independents are the ones who started to feed the music out there. So of course we all associated there. So I used to go down there, and the first time I ever went in the studio to record a demo with my band, Conrad Land, Cronos, who became Cronos, was there working as a studio engineer and actually showed us around. And that was the first time I'd met him. A bit later on, once the band had split, I went to Canada. I did some music over there. Then I came back because, of course, I lived in Windsor, Ontario, with my family and my sister and nephew, and loads of family still live out there, my aunts and uncles and stuff. When I moved back to England, I reformed the band very quickly, and then the drummer, by association, Jed Wolf, his brother was the manager of Venom. So we went to Impulse, of course, to record some demos, and then I met Dave Wood there, who ran the record label, and he really liked what I did with the demos, or what we'd done with the demos, so he offered us an album, and that's how we ended up doing Future Warriors. But of course, because of Jed, and also because we were at Neat Records at that point, Venom had released A War with Satan, and were working on Possessed. You know, there was a long association with the band. I knew who they were, and their girlfriends were girlfriends with my girlfriends and stuff like that. So we'd all sort of known about each other. But this was the first time we'd actually been right side by side on the same label. And I'd always done favours here, as they did for other bands on the label. And me and Jeff, when he did his solo album, he asked me if I'd come and shoot the video with him and do some bass for that. So I did. So I guess me and Jeff always had a deal going on. And then when Atomkraft went out and toured, of course, the first big one we did was with Venom and Exodus, which was right across Europe, which was phenomenal. And Metallica turned up, and you know, we just saw everybody on that tour. It was just a great year. That was '85. And of course, after that, Abaddon, Tony, became our tour manager. So whenever we went out, he came with us. So of course, I'd already had a relationship musically with Jeff. And then I had a personal relationship with Tony because he was with us all the time. So it was quite inevitable that when Conrad decided he'd had enough after Calm Before the Storm and he wanted to relocate to Boston or somewhere in America, and he took the guys with him, Mike Hickey and Jim Clare. This was after Calm Before the Storm. It just left a big hole. Music for Nations came in with an offer to Venom to do a couple of albums, a 3-album deal, and of course there was just Abaddon left. Jeff was working in a hospital, and I was doing Atomkraft. We just came back off a huge European tour where we played behind the Iron Curtain, and everything looked great. We had a new album all ready to go. We wanted to look for a new label and move away from New Records, get new management in London. So we came back off a tour, and it felt really good, but then the guitarist folded on me and left. Then the singer decided he wanted to move on, So, I thought, at that point, I've come a long way, worked really hard. We've just done the best tour we've ever done. We've got a great album ready to go, and now everybody's bailing on me, and I just thought, I can't be fucked to do it again. So I was contemplating just jacking it all in and just sticking with the theatre. And then I got a call just out of the blue to meet Abaddon and Eric Cook, the then manager of Venom, in a bar. So I went down to the bar, and I figured it was all about Atomkraft and what we should do next. And it wasn't. They said, look, we've got this offer on the table. We want to do a new Venom album. Conrad's being a dick, and he's gone out, and we don't want to use him, and we want to get Mantas back in, and we thought, who could we get to do an album? And you were the obvious choice, being such a huge fan, being able to play the stuff, and we know you can sing it. So they said, would you join? And I just said, well, fuck yeah. Because, Jay, at the end of the day, I was a fan as well, and I thought, well, if the idea was that Venom stops here, because I didn't rate Calm Before the Storm, I thought Possessed was some great tracks on Possessed, but I thought, they'd lost their way somewhat. And I thought, a world without Venom, I just didn't like. So I figured, rather than lose Venom completely, I'd rather give it a shot myself and see if we can keep it afloat. So I then contacted Mantas, had a discussion with him because he didn't want to come back in if Conrad was going to be there, and he wasn't really sure whether he wanted to come back in if Conrad was there, but certainly not if he wasn't. So I phoned Jeff and chatted to him and then just said, they want me to do it. And he said, well, if you do it, then I'm doing it. So that's what happened. We decided we'd do it. We went straight into start writing, and we ended up with Prime Evil, which we were very happy about. And that seemed to turn a few heads. I think people thought it couldn't happen, but it was a very different Venom, I think. But it was still a pretty black and pretty brutal, I guess. And
I mean, you appeared on the live VHS tape. I don't know if it's on DVD.
It has. I think it's a guy in New York, Leonard. A guy did me a DVD copy from a Laserdisc. Apparently, in Japan it went out on Laserdisc. And I've got two VHS, an NTSC, and of course a regular one, a British one as well. So I've got the VHS, the Live 90, but I don't think it has gone out on DVD yet. Sanctuary Records bought all of the master tapes from all of the Venom stuff that I did, and I think they included that was the Venom video, the Live 90 video. And initially, when they began to release anthologies, they put out my Atomkraft anthology, and then I was looking to possibly have them put out the Venom anthology with all the Venom stuff that we'd done, studio stuff that was a bit different, and of course have it as some sort of digipack. But they decided to put out Kissing the Beast, which was the Sanctuary Kissing the Beast, which was supposed to be my Venom anthology, but it didn't include any DVD or anything. So at the minute, we're still looking to, sometime in the future, put out all of it. I've got an intention this year. I've been collating all of my Atomkraft stuff, early demos, like video. I've got rare stuff, photos, just everything, and just to put out a particular pack, because Sanctuary did put out an anthology covering all the recorded studio stuff, but there was tons of stuff left off, so I'm going to put together a live package with just tons of stuff on it and just put that out, just to get it out there, because I figure, I've got so much stuff just sitting under my bed, as it were, and it's pointless. It's not doing anything. I'd rather people at least could collect it or listen to it at least, so...
In a box set format, you're going to be releasing this stuff?
Yeah, I think in a box set format. I mean, I'd like to put some sort of... I don't think people would be particularly interested in a Tony Dolan anthology, but I'd really like to put together a very rare Atomkraft anthology and the Venom one as well with the live stuff, because I've got a live bootleg video as well, from Russia and from Groningen and Holland, and, there's loads of footage that people haven't seen. And loads of rare stuff, so I thought, I'd like to put it all together just so that the fans, if they want to see it, can get their hands on it. I've seen it, I was there, so I don't need to see it again, but, there's lots of collectors who just want to get their hands on stuff, and I think it's about time I just let them have it, you know.
It's about time, you know. People deserve to see this stuff, I'm sure. Huge Venom fans.
Well, exactly. I think that's the thing, you know. Conrad has an ethos that he has some ultra rare stuff which he keeps in a box under his bed, literally, and he just will never give it to anybody. And he's quite happy to say, you know, nobody's ever going to see that. Well, I figure that's pretty insane in a way, because what's the point in having it? You already know what it is, so you know you might as well give it to the collectors. So, you know, I'd rather the stuff was out there. It's been far too long. I mean, this year we've got. I'm doing a show in Porto in Portugal in May, which is like a rock show sort of thing, which I've been invited to be the guest at. So I'm sort of acting and singing and playing and stuff. And then after that, we've got a particular project which I've kept quite on the quiet at the minute because we haven't officially announced it. But I'm going to tell you right now is that myself, Mantas and Anton, and possibly Mike Hickey, because we're just waiting to hear from Mike, but we're coming together and we're going to do an album and a tour, and we're going to base it around Primeval. So the project will be called Primeval, and we're going to get out there and we're going to be playing.
So you're not going to be playing as Venom?
No, well, there was a debate about that because initially they figured, you know, Conrad's out there as Venom with two other guys, and you know they were debating whether to take the name, but like I said to the guys, I just thought, you know, nobody wants two Venoms out there because it just looks like it's a war of attrition, you know. Well, because Conrad won't not be Venom, and then if we go out and say we're Venom, so the guys were saying, oh, well, we could go out as Sons of Satan or something. And I said, again, but that sort of puts us a bit further down. So we put it out to basically some of our closest fans from the biggest legions, fan clubs. And they said that we should do something, and we should do it as Primeval. So we decided maybe that's the way we should go. So far at the minute, we've got 4 tracks, and we're still working. And hopefully Mike will come with us, and we're looking to be out in Japan in around about September time. We were going to do a big announcement in May, but you know, it's starting to sort of feed itself out at the minute. So. And
any North American tours with this?
Yeah, we want to hit everywhere. We've got we've got a big PR agent in New York who's desperate to work with us and put us through North America. Obviously, South America is on the table whenever we want it because, you know, at the minute they're thirsty for this sort of stuff. We thought we'd start in Japan because we've got a whole bunch of clubs there that want to take us in, and the promoter's very keen to get us in these halls. And we've got any Italian dates we want. I mean, we figure once we've got the music out and we do the launch, then you know we're just going to let whatever happens. Whoever wants to take us, we're going to go and play. So if someone says like we want you to come and play there, we're just going to go and do it. Because the whole point before, what frustrated all of us was the lack of money and the cancelling of the tours. You know, Anton and Mike said every time they would go to America, you know, there'd be like 10 dates, and they'd manage to do like 3 or 4 of them because Conrad would piss off the promoters or fuck off the managers, and you know, people would ditch them, and it's like, you know, I've been the same. I mean, I got hassled once by an Italian promoter who I spoke to many years later, and he said, yeah, you guys really did me over because I had 4 shows booked, and I was like, when? And he said, well, in 1991. You were supposed to be coming down here. I've had the 4 huge shows, and you cancelled them. And I had to say, you know, I didn't even know we had 4 shows booked. So the management had booked 4 shows in Italy and cancelled them, and I never even knew they existed anyway. So, you know, we've agreed that whatever happens, we've just got to play absolutely everywhere. We want to keep touring, we want to play, and we're just going to do it this time. And we don't really care if we're closing shows, opening shows, just as long as we're fucking playing and we're getting out there to the fans, then that's all we're interested in. So it's going to be a very different sort of ethos with this band. And plus, we've all been burnt by the Venom virus, so we know what we don't want. So we're going to do it the right way and look after ourselves this time.
Ever played a song At War with Satan, the entire version live?
No. We did, I think Conrad did almost all of it live. He may have done with his solo act, Cronos, once in America. I don't know how much of it he did. And we did as Venom, we played in the UK, and I think it was around about Christmas time. We played a place called Bradford, and we played probably about a third of it. But no, none of the Venom lineups, as far as I know, I've played the whole thing from beginning to end. I mean, I'd like to do, and I'm sure Conrad would like to do that as a whole themed evening, you know, sort of do a whole theme thing. What impressed me was going to see Slayer on the God Hates Us All tour, and I saw them in London at the Astoria with a couple of journalist friends, and you know, I'm a big Slayer fan. I love Slayer, and what I loved about it was God Hates Us All. Halfway through the set, they played the entire Rain in Blood, and then went back to God Hates Us All album, and I thought that was fucking just brilliant. And I always thought that was something Venom should do, you know. You know, throw what we're Satan in the middle of their set. It would just be phenomenal.
That would be, and you know, or maybe even do the whole Welcome to Hell album.
Well, yeah, I think again, you know. I think there's been an idea touting around about that, about doing a whole album evening, is doing a show where just the entire album plays. In fact, it was being kicked around the idea of doing Welcome to Hell into black metal, so do the two albums. So, you know, you got like, I don't know, 20, 40 tracks or something, and just play straight through the whole lot.
Backstage at a Venom concert, how was that in your days in the band?
It was brilliant. You mean from a fan point of view, or?
Yeah, from fan point of view, you know.
Brilliant. It was brilliant. I got to say, Jay, you know that you know, most of the shit that I had on the internet from, like, you know, people slamming me was all coming from one particular corner of the ring, and that was from Cronos' corner of the ring, because, you know, I took something that was very precious to him and stood in his shoes, if you like, and did my thing, and got a great response from it. You know, so you read all sorts of stuff, and it's all horseshit. You know, all I can say is that you know, out of all the stuff that we did and all the shows that we did and everywhere we went, you know, only once did I ever have you know, anybody be negative towards me, and that lasted for about 2 minutes, and then they were buddies and bought me a drink. But every single fan that ever came near me was absolutely positive, was absolutely excited by the whole thing, and was glad to be there. And I've got to say that you know, I've had and still have got some incredible fans, and they've been in touch forever, and they've been supportive, and when we were on the road, you know, myself and Jeff particularly are very alike. We like doing the shows, we like talking to the fans, and then we just like chilling, and that's it. You know, drugs aren't really our thing, drinking isn't really our thing. We love our music and we love the fans, and you know, I can be quite brutal on stage, and I can be quite brutal off stage, but I can be quite brutal on stage, and that's where I get all my stuff out. And I want the fans to be brutal too. And when I come off, you know, everybody was always smiling. We were always just having a great time, and I've got some really great memories from that. Really, really great memories. Yeah.
Now, when you joined Venom, the tone almost stayed the same, like that famous Venom tone. You guys still had it, you know. Yeah,
well, you know, I think the thing is, for me, because I'm a very different type of bass player. You know, what I always loved was that guttural sweep that Conrad had. But I suppose I'm more of I don't know, more technical on the bass, because of my own band and the type of writing that I used to do, because I used to play guitar all the time. So, you know, I play the bass like a rhythm instrument, but I also like to run all over the place. I like to flow through bass lead bits in there. So, you know, I find it very hard just to do a straightforward pattern. So I think my bass sound was pretty dynamic, but probably a bit lighter, more top-endy than that, because I like to cut through with my Rickenbacker or the basses that I use. I like to get a bit more top-end, a bit more attack on it. Whereas Conrad's really low and guttural, and it's a big, grotesque noise, and that worked really well. So it was very difficult thinking, like, how are we going to attack this? Because my vocal's going to be similar in parts, but of course my range is higher than Conrad's, so you know, I've got a bit more bite to it, so I'm going to be able to push higher, which helps with the writing, because it means you're less restricted. Of course, my ability to play it was a little more refined. So, of course, again, it meant that we could go in a different direction if we wanted to. But I wanted to keep what I loved about Venom. I wanted to keep the blackness and the heaviness and all of that. So I don't think we consciously looked at the sound to make the sound be what it was. I think that was clever on Primeval because we got Nick Tauber in. And Nick Tauber had done Calm Before the Storm and he'd worked with Venom before, and he knew how Venom attacked and how Venom should sound. Our difficulty was the albums post Primeval, because they were mixed by the engineer who had been present on Primeval, and Tony Bray. And, you know, as much as the engineer was very intuitive and you know, Tony is Tony, they weren't Nick Tauber, so they couldn't really produce the same sort of album. So the production on the albums got worse and worse, and that sort of did me in by the end. But on sticking with Primeval, I think, which was our first attack, I think the thing is that it wasn't a conscious thing, but certainly from the writing point of view, I spent most of my time listening to Welcome to Hell and Black Metal, not to mimic those albums, but to remind myself of why I loved Venom and what I wanted Venom to sound like, and you know what it was about Venom that made me love the sound, and I think that's what came out on Primeval for me. I think, you know, I wrote Black and Other Priests and Carnivorous, you know, were the first two tracks I wrote after listening to those, both Black Metal and Welcome to Hell. I listened to every night for, I guess, about 2 or 3 months. I mean, every night I listened to the whole album, then put the next one on and listen to it again. Sometimes I'd double up and listen to them twice. But by the end of that, as I was writing, I really had the feel of what I wanted to do with my Venom, or with my version, whatever it was. So by the time we were ready to go on Primeval, I was already bursting at the seams, ready to just go. So I think whatever that Venom thing is that you're describing, I guess I had it at that point. I had it, you know.
Very well said.
Cool.
Basically, you're always busy working with film and theater and music.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have time off sometimes?
Well, you know, I have a daughter and I have a wife, and I try to get as much time as I can. But, you know, like I say, I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I'm always thinking of the next thing and what I could be doing. And on those days where I should be just sitting on my fanny, just thinking like, just put my feet up, I sit for like 10 minutes and then think, shit, I should be doing something. So I'm learning something on the guitar, or I'm writing something, or, you know. But I do make sure I take holiday every year. And usually I go to visit the family in Canada, or maybe I go to Los Angeles and see some friends, or, you know, we take a trip into Europe. This year, it's a bit difficult because I was supposed to go to Los Angeles in February, and then I didn't make that, and I was supposed to go to a film festival. A friend who runs Chaos 2000, Phil Anderson, out there in San Francisco, invited me to a cine festival, which they'd penciled me in to appear at. But I didn't get to go there either because of work. And now it looks like in the summer I could be stuck in Portugal, or not stuck in Portugal, but I could be in Portugal doing this rock show. A producer got in touch with me because he wanted to produce We Will Rock You in Portugal, and he's wrote this show. And then he Googled who I was, because I was only being technical advisor, and then offered me a part in it. So now at the end of April, I go out to do some press and stuff for the show, and do a bit of rehearsal and meet the cast. And then in May 10th, I go over to Porto. We're playing the Colosseum, which is the big theatre there, a very beautiful theatre. So I play there for a week. And then I think we're supposed to be going to Italy with a band, and then we're off to Japan. When I've done the dates in Japan with the boys and the Primeval thing, we're debating whether we can go then or wait till September. But in the meantime, I've got to squeeze in. I've got to come back to We Will Rock You, of course. and do that. But I've also got to squeeze in more dates for this Portuguese show, because if we play in Porto, the idea is that we play there. If he gets the sponsorship and everything he wants to tour it around Portugal, meaning the Azores and South Portugal and Lisbon, of course, the capital. So it could be a very busy summer. So to answer your question, do I get any time off? I'll actually be on holiday in Portugal, but which will be my time off, and I'll probably take the family, but I will be working as well. So I guess I always find a way to work, even when I'm supposed to be resting.
Wow. And your calendar should be extra big.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I think, I think the thing is, yeah, that it's like there's too many things that you can have out of life. There's too many people to meet. There's too many things to be done, and I find it very exciting. I find life very exciting, and my one problem is I can't say no to anything. I always say yes to everything because it's cool and it's exciting, and life. This is what life's about. I think it's about living, and so whenever people have gone to me, wow, you're doing all sorts of stuff, I wish I could. And I said, but you could. There's no difference between me and you and somebody else. I just decided I wanted to do it. I'm just doing it. Nobody said to me, when I wanted to make my first album, I remember sitting as a kid with a white label cover album and sticking, pieces of paper all over it, trying to make out like it was my album cover, and then I'd slip it into my collection of vinyl records, and then every now and then I'd flick them open as if I was just casually looking so I could find my own album. And I promised myself one day I actually would have a real album in my collection, and I guess like 8 albums later or whatever it is, I don't know, and then countless compilations. I think I've got something like 25 pieces of product in the cupboard with just Venom stuff compilations on, never mind any Atomkraft stuff, but I've got like a cupboard full of CDs with all sorts of stuff on. I've got something like 30 DVDs that I'm on or in, movies and classic rock things and band things, and so I far exceeded myself from what I decided to have one album in my record collection. But what happens is you think, oh, well, I've done that, so that's cool. And most people think, if I could just do one album and have it in my collection or make one movie, I'd be quite happy. But you're not, because the thing is, we're all human. And it's like, you've got this great radio show, you probably work very hard to do the whole thing, and you're really enjoying it. But, at some point, you want to keep going. You want to do the next thing. You want to do the next thing. And that's just human nature. And, I remember somebody saying to me, oh, you've met some Hollywood stars, and why do they do like 2 or 3 films a year? I mean, they get like $20 million for a movie. Why would they want to do any more? And it sort of does. It sounds weird, but it becomes not about the money. It's about the work itself. If you don't have any money and someone says you could have $10 million, you'd be the happiest guy on the planet, because you planned the rest of your life where you didn't do any work. And all you did was just do whatever you want to do, go out on your skidoo or go scuba diving or fucking travel the world or whatever. But what happens when you've done all that shit? And then you're sitting in your palatial house with all your shit in Nova Scotia, and the world's just great. Or you're in the Bahamas. Well, what happens then? Well, you're going to go, fuck, I missed my radio show. I'm going to do another radio show. And I go, I want to do another album, or I want to do some music, or I want to do another film or something, And I think everybody's the same. It seems really cool, and it seems like the world's just perfect. But then after a while, the money is just the money. The only difference with making that amount of money on movies is that you don't have to fucking worry about anything. You don't worry about your electricity or your gas or any of that shopping shit or putting petrol in your car. Fuck it, doesn't matter how much it costs. You've got 10 cars anyway, and someone looks after them for you. Everything you want at a click of your fingers. So who gives a shit? You've got a Learjet to take you everywhere. So you don't do what the rest of us do and get on a tube or a bus or. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference. Is like you don't have to think about money when you've got it. But as far as work goes, you always want to do something. If you make one album, you'll always want to make another one. If you do one tour that's the best tour you've ever done, you'll always want to do another one. And there's a band, Status Quo, for like 20 fucking years or something, they did their final tour ever, every year. Why would a band do their final tour and then 12 months later do their final tour? Because they love playing live, because they love touring. And it's like, shit, when that shit bites you hard, you just want to keep doing it, and you want to get that buzz, I suppose. It's the same when, you got guys taking fucking, crack cocaine or some shit like that. The idea of someone being, like Conrad, being addicted to heroin is, like, beyond me. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, You spend all your money on a bag of shit, burn it, and then stick it into your flesh to get high, and then that's it. It's done. I can think of much better things to do with my money, a much better way to enjoy myself. But, people get addicted to that. And I think some people get addicted to stuff, and some people get addicted to life. And I think I'm just addicted to life. And that's the best way. Is like, it doesn't matter what I do, I can't wait for the next thing. And I work fucking hard at everything I do. And some things pay off well, and some things don't pay off well. But, at the end of the day, Jay, it's about you. Did you have fun? Are you enjoying it? For every time you get 10 people telling you were fucking brilliant, you're going to get 5, 6, maybe 10 people telling you suck. You're a dick and you suck. It's like, whatever. You got to take the good stuff with the bad stuff, because it's only opinion at the end of the day. I had a chat the other night online with a very good friend in Greece. We were trying to decide the top 5 bands that we know that didn't deserve their success. And, he gave 5 bands, and I went, yeah, okay, right, okay, well, maybe not. Then I gave my 5 bands, and one of those bands he loved. So he was going, how can you fucking say that? But what I tried to tell him was, well, it's all about personal opinion, isn't it? Exodus's new album went out. Fantastic. I love Exodus. I love Gary and the boys. I got a long association with the band, and I think the album is brilliant. But I thought the last 3 albums were great. I loved them. Shovelhead Death, Temple of the Damned. I loved them. Yet this guy I was talking to said, no, the other one sucked. This one's great. So it's like, well, fuck, I didn't think they sucked, but he thought they sucked. There's another 2 fans over there who thought they were fucking brilliant, and there's another guy in the corner thinks even this one's shit. And that's just how it is. But does that make it shit? No, of course it doesn't. That just means that he doesn't like it, and he doesn't like it. But someone else does like it. And I find that quite encouraging, because if everybody liked the same shit, we'd be fucking bored within a minute. So what's quite cool is that everybody doesn't like the same shit, and that's why we've got fucking a whole genre of black metal, and a whole genre of grindcore, and a whole pop chart, and Kiss can tour, Napalm Death can tour, Slayer can tour, Metallica can tour, the Stones can still tour. That's what's so wonderful about the whole thing, is that music speaks to the soul, and everybody loves music, and it's just, it's like this fantastic patterned carpet that's just got fucking everything in it. And I just find that very exciting. Very exciting.
Brilliant brain you have there, Tony.
Oh, well, thanks. I like to just, I don't know, I just like to embrace the whole thing. I think it's, we're on a remarkable planet, and we're very fortunate to be, to be living beings on the planet, and to be cultured in how we've developed. And I think, we've done some scandalous things as a race when we look at what we've done to ourselves and the planet, but also we've done some incredible things. And, that's all part of the fabric. And if you can take just a little piece of that and make it yours, what a fucking fantastic thing to do. What a fantastic thing to do. I remember a tutor telling me at school when we were I was about to leave school, and they were talking to us and saying, what do you want to do for a living? And it got around to my turn, and I said, I'd like to meet everybody on the planet before I die. And he just went, oh, Dolan boy, don't be so stupid. What do you want to do with your life? And I said, that's what I want to do. And he said, don't be stupid, I told you. Tell me something serious you want to do. I said, I want to meet everybody on the planet before I die. He said, but that's impossible. You're never going to meet everybody on the planet. I said, no, I know it's impossible, but isn't it going to be cool trying to meet everybody on the planet? And if I try to meet everybody on the planet before I die, imagine how many people I'm going to meet and how many friends I'm going to have. You know, and I think that's it. Embrace different cultures, embrace different people, and, you know, experience the planet that we're on. It exists bigger than just your house, in your street, in your town, in your country. And I think that's fantastic. That's just fantastic.
Incredible words of wisdom you just brought out there.
Well, yeah. Well, it's, you know, maybe just an old guy's ramblings, I guess.
You have a good night.
All right, you too, Jason, and you take care, man. And like I said, keep in touch, and I'll keep you posted with everything that's going on. And whatever you need, you just give me a yell, and if I can help, I'm all yours.
All right, cool stuff. Well, you have a good night, and I'll keep in touch with you. Thank you very much, dear, for the time.
Okay.
Good night.
No worries, bud. Okay, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jason.